Welcome back, everybody, to the GCWC, where we are going to head into our next match. Roll20 faces Ballistics today, and after they nearly beat MVP Black on the second map, Infernal Shrines, maybe today they can beat the Koreans.
Yeah, it was nice to be able to see signs of life out of North America against, the beast that is KSV yesterday. And, I feel like a lot of this, the performance I expected of North America today, if they do find a win against Ballistics, is going to be in the same manner as that last game, where it's going to be more on the defensive, and then trying to punish on some kind of misposition out of Ballistics.
Yeah. Like, I talked to them yesterday after the game, and also a little bit more this morning, and they are really motivated. Dansky was the entire time just joking around. It's like, just you wait, today it's going to be 12%. One step at a time, 1% every single day. But yeah, they really feel they can finally win something. They said we should have done it yesterday. We, again, had a problem there in the calling, how we acted when we went for the core. But they are pretty confident that they can actually get a victory here today.
And I think, when we look at the entirety, maybe not so the recent days and the kind of the group stage and the performance out of Ballistics, I think it's reasonable to see that, Roll20 thinks that they can, or like the goal would be to take a game here against Ballistics, because Ballistics has been a bit hit or miss. Again, they have grown kind of into themselves as Dave's gone on, but very early on, it was a very jarring performance out of that.
For me personally, it was really the role swap that they made, because ever since they finally decided that SC just simply belongs on a damage dealer, they have been doing so much better. Every time they switched it up and had him on either the second support or on an offlaner, they played abysmal in comparison to their best performance that they had so far here. So they completely switched it up. I talked to Hooligan a little bit about it, and he said he absolutely agrees. SC now having him on the damage dealer just feels so much better for them as well. And it's actually kind of funny because it also translates into scrims for them. I saw Fnatic scrim against Ballistics, and they drafted a solo damage composition, and I immediately said I talked to Lena about it, and I said, like, yeah, you guys probably get a free win here. And he's like, what, why? Like, yeah, just wait, they have a C again on the second support, and then the game starts, and Ballistics gets a kill right off the bat, and I was just like, yeah, that's really interesting. And I look at it, and all of a sudden it's just like, oh, look at that, SC is on the only damage dealer. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So they themselves accepted that they needed to make that swap, and ever since then they looked so much stronger. So it's going to make it a bit difficult for Roll20 unless Ballistics falls back into that MO.
Matt bans coming through. Roll20 rids of Dragonshire. Ballistics is going to ban out Warhead Junction. No surprise there. The North American Classic. And they're going to go ahead and start us off with Sky Temple. It's a pretty common map pick for Ballistics. Not always their #1 priority, but I am not surprised that they're going to bring that fight here to Roll20.
Yeah, it was incredibly funny when Ballistics did the map picks and bans against Fnatic, because Fnatic's choice for the first map was also Sky Temple, and the immediate reaction was like, oh, thank you, thank you. And Quietness was just sitting there. What do you mean, thank you? No, wait, we take it back. We want to change. But at that point, it was already a bit too late, and they paid the price later. But so far, Roll20 is still in high spirits, starting us off with a quick ban against Genji, who has been a favorite of Ballistics throughout the tournament. Very aggressive playstyle on the side of both Korean teams, but Ballistics also here in general. Tassadar once again banned out, and as we have Sky Temple, Dehaka with a high priority as the global.
And yeah, also because, it's Goku on the side of Roll20. Yes. He is very, very effective on the Dehaka.
And if you confirm the earliest kill in Heroes of the Storm history 7 seconds in against Phalanx, then you have already accomplished something with Dehaka. You made a reputation for yourself.
Is that what he went with, the titled Phalanx after that one?
No, that's what I went with.
Oh, okay.
Unlike his evil twin took over that day.
Oh, man. Now, Greymane and ETC picked up for Ballistics. I already want to know, is Roll20 willing to pick up for themselves the Arthas that has been rising to power in this type of situation in response to that Greymane, or do they go into a different avenue here? I feel like I would like to see it. He's been a monster throughout this tournament.
It has been a constant reaction right off the bat, and most of the time, if you get the ban against Arthas, when you go for Greymane and ideally also Karazim, you want to make sure that Arthas is banned out here. It's also interesting to me that even though Arthas is now picked very highly against Greymane, teams are still willing to commit to Karazim, because they just say, even though Arthas is great against both, we still feel he adds enough value that we are fine taking that trade.
Yeah, it's rather interesting. I think a little bit of it comes down to the fact that because you're waiting on Frozen Tempest ticks to come in, that it doesn't directly impact the immediate burst. Yes, it's a little bit of a hindrance, but Karazim's main goal is to make sure he is that follow-up support and get that damage out there while having the team fight cross-support capabilities. But Roll20, they go a different direction, pick themselves up the Rhaegar. No surprise, he has been the #1 support from beginning to end at GCWC, and then a Vala. So to me, immediately shows that they're more of that kind of Holy Trinity style supporting and making sure that they get pressure onto the map.
And also probably a bit worried about not Arthur's being banned out, but maybe Vala, since Greymane is already taken, and a lot of teams go for the trade-off one or the other. It was kind of interesting to also see after the Diva ban, the faces on the side of Roll20. Specifically, Justin had a lot of fun there, and immediately there were a couple of happy smiles. So I don't really think that they wanted to show off their Diva on Sky Temple today.
Yeah, that's. I wonder if that is a little bit purely because of the Infernal Shrines game that they saw, or very much if it comes down to some of the scrim results behind the scenes there. But
yeah.
It's a curious ban because even Roll20, though Diva is more North American played, Roll20 in particular wasn't the team that kind of was known for it. It was Team Freedom, and none of the members that came over from Team Freedom were the Diva player.
And most of the time when we see Diva, it's right now on maybe Infernal Shrines, for example. That's most of the map where you would see it. On the other hand, Ballistics right now with Tyrael and Lucio. So this is one of the common themes that we have seen for ages. If you go into Greymane, then Tyrael becomes incredibly attractive. If you then also play on Sky Temple or Cursed Hollow, Tyrael with his Sanctification adds so much more value for any kind of fight on either temple, but more importantly, on the boss. And that's something that Roll20 has to be worried about, because these boss fights are usually what can decide, and oftentimes do decide, the late game on Sky Temple.
Yeah, and boss control, beyond just the Tyrael, is still in favor of Ballistics having the ETC. Even though ETC doesn't really zone off that heavily, it's the fear of the mosh pit and being able to push away with that mosh pit that is also something to be heavily feared. We got 3 seconds before the last 2 picks coming in from Roll20. I expect a double support in Primary Warrior, and that is going to be the case. A Garrosh Kharazim for them. The Garrosh does feel a little out of place for me here. I feel like it's mainly reactionary to the concept that there are so many melees that maybe some very big taunts coming out, but I'm just a little bit torn on that pick when it's not on a map that has the traditional 1-4 laning situation where it's like, here's the Garrosh flip problem that we have come to know and love.
Yeah, a flip in 7-sided can still be powerful, but I would agree that on other maps it feels a little bit stronger here. But Garrosh has seen quite a bit of play yesterday as well, so teams are currently starting to show him a bit more. It was more so an NA special for a long time, and especially the European teams said that they feel very confident in playing against Garrosh, especially when they could get their hands on ETC, for example. But in this tournament now, we've also seen yesterday Dignitas, for example, run with Garrosh. A lot of the teams are willing to commit to the hero. And there's a lot of scrims going on, and even just simply Hero League games where they are just practicing all those across the board.
Last slot is going to be Gul'dan for Ballistics. He has made a rise through this tournament, a very surprising one. What are your thoughts on the Gul'dan, where he belongs? Because before it was just only when wave clear, but that is no longer the case. He's kind of the Tier 2 mage in this meta, it seems like, at GCWC.
Now, I feel like Gul'dan was always played a lot in Europe, either way. Of course, having high priority on maps, let's say, like Infernal Shrines and Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Yeah.
But I think compared to other regions, Europe played Gul'dan a lot. Crosby for Trick played him, Mene played him as well. We had on every single team, basically, a player that was playing Gul'dan and using the Horrify in particular to get isolation kills. So I feel Europe is a bit more familiar with it, but looking at the rest of the world, he's definitely on the rise. And I like it because I feel he's such a huge game changer in the way that his Horrify can impact a team fight, and especially when we're talking about boss control for the late game, we now have an added value. We have Face Melt, we have Lucio with his boobs, we have the Sanctification, we have the Mosh Pit threat, and then we have a Horrify threat too. If this goes to a late game where we on even footing see a fight that can be initiated by either one of the teams over the boss that can end the game 20 minutes in, it's going to be a disaster for Roll20,
Absolutely.
So they have to play around this.
Yeah, it goes from some of the best boss control heroes debatably in the game to almost zero boss control on the side of Roll20. I very much agree with you. So then, that in mind, immediately got to go, well, Roll20, where can they get that pressure out on the map in the early game, try and snowball this into their favor? It accents a map like Sky Temple. So I want to see a heavy early game from Roll20. I want to see them bring the fight.
I absolutely agree with you. They need to bring the fight and they need to bring it early. They have the global, but ETC could potentially mirror that with a stage dive. We're going to find out soon as Kurva Roll20, Cure on Kharazim, Vala played by Dainsky, Justin on Garrosh, Buds on Rhaegar, and Goku, obviously, on the Haka.
Obviously, on Dahaka.
I mean, duh.
Duh. In the blue, or red, excuse me, Ballistics. We got Magi on that Lucio, Hooligan playing ETC, SDE on Gul'dan, Jung Ha on his Tyrael, and SE playing Greymane.
So I got my wish out of yesterday. Whenever we saw the Triple Warrior composition out of Ballistics, I wanted to see Jung Ha play the Tyrael. He, for me, is the best Tyrael in the world.
Yeah, this is exactly the switch.
Except when that happens. I didn't say that. I take it back, every ounce of it. I regret everything.
Roll20 trying to beat their own record. This time it took them at 12 seconds instead of 7. But they are delivering the fastest kills in the tournament.
They are, constantly finding a way to be able to get that first blood faster than everyone else.
By the way, these punishments, when you say something and you praise someone, that actually starts to become a bit of a theme in the meme. So you need to be careful who you praise in the future. You should wait for the performance and then make it happen.
Yeah, that's probably a good call.
I mean, it doesn't make you wrong, though, but look at Garrosh here. Justin with the second kill here already, but we still have a race going on, so this game is opening up with a bang. Not only the kill against Tyrael, but also the second one against Gul'dan, and the lost experience in the top lane is probably the one thing that worries me the most for Ballistics.
Yeah, you know, even though we were kind of joking about that early kill given up by Tyrael up into the eye, there was a very strategical level 1 plan here from Ballistics. They didn't want to lose the Tyrael that fast, obviously. They wanted to at least buy a little bit of time and use his mobility to delay Roll20, but they were very much going for the big play, taking out the front wall and trying to get an advantage over Roll20. And there was decent response, not nearly as fast, but that's, again, because of the bait up onto the Tyrael on top. So Roll20, you know, a little bit behind here, but not too much.
Yeah, the one problem that they, of course, have is that they already lost the fort early on. Then again, Ballistics lost waves since they lost Gul'dan at the top lane, so in the end, that's going to even out, and Roll20 might actually take lead here.
Even when it comes to experience, but behind when it comes to the map objective. Yeah. So again, it is a, you know, even though the team fight probability here for both teams near dead even, Ballistics is the one to slightly trade up.
Yeah, and once again, we have another one. They go for Hooligan, and that's, of course, where Vala also comes into play with the Hungering Arrow build that we see here. Goku commits to the burrow, tries to go in for a quick drag, but at this point, Ballistics is already out of reach. Not only thanks to Lucio, who, of course, is always great when you need to run away.
I wanted to know if the members of Ballistics make the transition up towards top after having so much damage onto the front, or excuse me, so much damage done in such a early shot advantage, but instead they're just going to take an early giant invade, going to really cripple the resources available during the kind of downtime between first and secondary shrine phase. It's not a huge win, but it is actually pretty impactful depending on how they want to play the secondary shrine phase. Because they have already taken the bottom fort and there's so much pressure onto the map, Ballistics doesn't have to play this as expected as you normally see a Sky Temple game.
It's definitely a bit of a game changer if you lose your bottom fort this early because you have no retreat path when the second temple spawns. Now Ballistics puts even more pressure onto the lane with the 2 giants that they can take for themselves now, so both camps are being claimed by them. And that leads me to the question how Roll20 is going to react to this. I like that they still try to push the top lane with Dahaka, and they are also apparently going to time their night camp properly. They want probably Ballistics to take theirs first so that they can defend it a bit easier with the help of the towers. That would be great for them, but they committed already, and as we said before, they need some early game value, and they got the kills, but the problem is they're still even inexperienced.
Yeah, and because that shrine phase wasn't, you know, immediately consumed both on top and middle, this is not only early for if that had happened, this is like, we're looking at a 5-minute time frame on when those secondary shrine phases are going to spawn. So both of these night camps are very, very early, but Ballistics is the one capitalizing on it with a 4-man rotation. Hooligan gets flipped over the wall, though, and enough damage is there from Roll20. They get themselves the 3rd kill, all thanks to Garrosh each and every time.
Yeah, and that was also a little bit optimistic by Hooligan, to be honest. Walking up straight to the gate, if you know that Garrosh is on the other side, or you can at least expect it since he hasn't been shown earlier. So in this case, that's the 3rd kill for Roll20. Ballistics is still looking good on the map and the objective, so they're not far behind, but this is starting to become a bit of a trend that they need to be worried about.
Yeah, that is really surprising to see that kind of play from Ballistics. You know, it's a fool me once up on top onto jump out, but it's the fact that it's happened multiple times, and both of them have been, you know, kind of what you're, when you look at it, you're like, yeah, the Garrosh is going to get the flip here. Or in the system, when you go, we pick the Garrosh for these moments, Ballistics is kind of handing it over to Roll20 right now. That being said, Justin's not missing a moment. He's not missing a beat. They're always getting the groundbreaker and throwing them into the fray.
He's playing fantastic. From the first flip that he started, did he actually miss one so far?
I don't think so.
He got every single one of them. At this point now, the temples, on the other hand, they are being activated. And We have the Haka, unfortunately, already at the bot lane, so he can't go for the extra experience up top. And eventually, Roll20 should have to give this one up. Ballistics is going for it, and they still have the well, so the fight is starting up. But Roll20 has to win this quickly, or they need to retreat. And at this point, Gul'dan is already landing massive damage with Corruption.
Yeah, the Gul'dan dot there onto the members of Roll20. I mean, it was just way too much damage. They're trying to get the retreat. Nice flip from Justin to try and save Goku, but it comes at the cost of his own life. He is first to drop. Magi boops Buds right back, but nobody in range. I say that maybe a bit too early. The smite gets thrown down in hot pursuit, and that is the second kill for Ballistics.
And they make it 3, going straight in for Karazim. Trying to save himself here with a quick heal, but it's a bit too late already, and that is Ballistics on level 10. And what do you do when you are level ahead on Sky Temple?
You take the boss.
Exactly.
Boss going to be picked up. A lot of shots still on bottom to be taken whenever Ballistics decides that they want to make that transition backwards. This is one of the cool situations you can find yourself on Sky Temple that is, again, you don't have to play it as standard because so much pressure has been put onto bottom and this boss is going to go. You can pressure out mid, keep fort, take that for free, take the transition down bottom if you want. It's really, Ballistics has to ask the question, which fight do we want? And as long, whatever that is, can determine which transitions they decide to take.
What I would have really liked from Roll20 is just to give up the bottom temple, try to find the value on the lanes, push them out, get the experience there. And when Ballistics starts to split off heroes onto the lanes to mirror that and not lose out on any wave clear, then I think they could have tried to just set something up with the Haka, maybe another flip with Garage to get a kill here. But going for the temple fight, I feel was really optimistic considering that they did not have a fort to retreat, there was no fountain, no wall. If they take the fight, they need to make it decisive and get a quick kill.
I very much agree with you, but I will say that I think I give more credit to Ballistics making the power play because of the feign rotation they made towards mid, and more importantly, the collapse. The minute Roll20 postured up, which again, I think was asking for too much, but hold up, that was a pretty big taunt. Onto Jungha, Hooligan not able to get in his power side, but Goku came in with that brush stock onto the backline, and he might be regretting it here as that's forcing a cleanse from Buds. But Roll20, they make it out.
Yeah, it's still safe for now, so they are making it out, but the camp is still eliminated now. Ballistics has not used a lot of cooldowns here, whereas we had, of course, not only Isolation was being used, but we also had Warlord's Challenge on the side of Garrosh, so that's 2 cooldowns burned that they need to wait for. Ballistics looking very solid, especially after level 10 has hit, and they have yet to commit all their resources to a team fight.
It's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds over that next Shrine phase, as we're got to be about 20 seconds out. Both teams picking up the night camps. This is, in theory, favor of the team that has the global always, but because the map is already pressured into the top lane, Roll20 really can't use that to Haka up on top for too long. Otherwise, it's going to be a very easy rotation to get a pick from Ballistics.
One of the things with Ballistics on Sky Temple, we know, well, another big throw here and the taunt. And look at that, the quick kill against Lucio. Well played here as we have them chasing ETC. And that's a connected drag, Goku delivering. And a double kill against Ballistics.
And Sanctification was a bit, you know, out of place
yeah.
there for Jungha. There was nobody that was too concerned about taking damage at that point in time. Definitely communication falling apart there for Ballistics in that skirmish.
I'm actually a little bit surprised how Ballistics plays this. If you look at the map itself, they do a fantastic job. They have decent rotations, they make sure that they get the objective, they are ahead when it comes to structures. But in the fights, it's actually Roll20 that communicates better and is doing an excellent job finding kills.
Oh, but that's a big Horrify on bottom. Pushes Cure and Buds into a bad spot. Justin is going to get that flip and save his life. Buds returns the favor with an Ancestral Healing. But you know Jungha, he's got the smite. Nice rain of vengeance there from Dansky, but they're all in such a bad position. Nice engagement there. Essie goes in. He's got the damage, and 2 members of Roll20 are out of here as Shines are up.
Ballistics went in, got the 2 kills, and he couldn't have come at a better time, as you already mentioned. Shrines up, Temples up, and they can now make sure that they get even more structural advantage here for themselves. And that leads me back to my point. Ballistics, in every single game on Sky Temple that they play, they draft heavily for boss control for the late game. And I think this is really becoming a theme that soon enough teams are going to pick up upon and that they will address during the draft phase. Banning either Tyrael out or make sure that they pick him up for themselves and try to rival the boss control. Because Ballistics has favored Sky Temple in every series they played so far, and they always followed the same MO, but nobody addressed it in the draft yet.
Yeah, that will be really interesting to see if that's enough to thwart the playstyle of Ballistics, because that wasn't always the case. Though this map has always been one of the favorites. Hold up here, this invade attempt. We do have Jung Ha over the wall. There's going to be a flip onto ETC, and he immediately gets one shot there with that 7-sided. Here goes in a bit too far. A little bit of punishment, but not enough to cost him too much. And Roll20 find another kill.
Yeah, I really, really like that combo. We talked about it briefly during the draft, but getting the flip in the fight and then immediately following it up with the 7-sided blows nearly everyone to pieces. If you have the Vala instantly present, then you can just deliver so much damage and confirm the kill. Especially since we don't have a panic button outside of Sanctification. You need to have position for that. Here comes the Horrify though, and the Sanctification already on the ground as the sound barrier is also being used, and Roll20 is in trouble.
Yeah, they are in trouble because there is way too much damage out of SDE. Big Flask is going to hit 3 members of Roll20. They are in retreat. SC is going to try and track them down, but Jung Ha doesn't have enough mana to be able to throw on the Smite and the Aldruins, but Magi, he's got the mobility to be able to boop everybody back. Curious got 1 dash, but it's not enough.
Not enough by a long shot. A triple kill for Ballistics. Great play here by them. Going in and taking Roll20 apart. The damage output is just so insane. If you hit a Corruption and a Cocktail hits at the same time, all of a sudden everybody is so low that Ballistics can just go in with Magi, giving speed, and they are on the chase. And this time, the Sanctification was also on point.
It was absolutely flawless because there was the initiation attempt from Roll20 was actually rather clever. They had the Dahaka brushstock from behind, and that made SDE kind of panic for a moment, and all the members of Roll20 collapse. He hits a 3-man Horrify, but it still would have been the death of him because of Goku. But then Jung Ha there, the Sanctification is in a position to be able to kite away. You see him hit like 2 major Fell Flames onto 4 targets of Roll20, and at that point, the fight was already over just based on the counter initiation that Ballistics show.
It must be a bit of...
Oh my! Do you want some corruption?
Yeah, that hurt, and it hurt quite a bit. And here comes again the Horrified Justin on the other hand. Is he going to survive this? Quick shield comes out of Rhaegar, trying to keep him alive. We have the Mosh, but not hitting too much yet. Sound Barrier is following up as well. The bottom for keep is still being attacked, but Roll20 is on the run. Goku in trouble, still able to escape, but the problem is the keep is down and the boss heads for the core.
Yeah, and Roll20 now with all 5 members up to try and get the defense. They need a huge taunt if they're going to be able to pull this off. The shielding is gone, and Justin is not in the position to be able to get the flank. Here he goes, but the Sanctification says nigh, and this looks like Ballistics is going to find themselves game number 1 over North America.
Ballistics takes it, drops the core, and that's the lead for the Korean team here. I feel for NA fans, this is a bit rough to watch. You get kill after kill in every single time we have that Garrosh combo, even before 10 delivering kills. And it looks good. It looks like Roll20 is running the show for a bit, and then all of a sudden there comes a small team fight, and bam, Ballistics is there.
I feel like that game came down to a lot of lack of respect for one specific character in the other person's composition. For the side of Ballistics, failure to respect Garrosh in the siege moments where they were able to move up. But then also from Roll20, because both major team fights they lost, they forced a 4 versus 5 and just didn't expect for the massive SDE Horrify. Both times was able to change it around. Also, I mean, you know, the Sanctification definitely helped that situation, but it was just not appreciating how hard it is to siege into those heroes. The problem was for Roll20, when they went down and they made those decisions, it hit all 3 or 4 people. Garrosh only affects 1.
And the next problem is you have Lucio against you, so once that you start losing the fight, you will lose it big time because he just speeds you up and then you get hunted down. That's exactly what happened to Roll20 several times, especially after the forts were gone. The distance to safety is so long that Lucio could just chase forever and get kill after kill for them.
He is essentially makes, I don't want to say the entire team like an Illidan, but it's pretty close to the same concept, right? Because even though you don't make everybody maybe as fast and as mobile as Illidan, you're making somebody who has probably more crowd control to be able to slow them down. So now you have 5 of them chasing you down, and it just makes what is 1 death really almost always 3 to 4.
Yeah. At this point, Ballistics, in numbers, they looked strong here once again at level 17 versus 15, but definitely also moments of weakness on the side of Ballistics that were maybe not quite expected. SC gets the MVP here on his Grey main. I would have probably given it over to Gul'dan, but at the same time, SC has been playing a fantastic tournament on the damage roll so far.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's one of those situations where, you know, SDE did end up having huge Horrifies, but also you had the Executioner that has to be SC at the same time, knocking down those numbers. Interior had an amazing play throughout that. Honestly, everybody on the